Government promises to make payment of 2018 doc salaries at the end of July. We'll have details of this story and more in the National Report.
COVID-19 spreads from person to person through the droplets that are produced when someone coughs or sneezes, which makes it easy to spread between people in close contact. Now let's get prepared to stay healthy. To reduce your chance of catching or spreading COVID-19, practice these simple everyday preventative measures. Droplets can also land on surfaces, so ensure that you wash your hands frequently for a minimum of 20 seconds or sing the happy birthday song twice. Avoid touching your face, especially your eyes, nose, and mouth. If soap and water are not readily available, use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer with an alcohol content between 60 and 90%. 70% is ideal. When you cough or sneeze, cover your nose and mouth with a flexed elbow or a tissue. Dispose of the tissue immediately and then wash your hands. If you notice someone has a fever and cough or other symptoms of respiratory illness, avoid close contact when possible. Let's all do our part to ensure that each and every Grenadian remains healthy. Our health is our collective responsibility.
Welcome back. With the details of the news for Friday, July 1st, 2022, I am Sherry-Ann Noel. 15 members of the National Democratic Congress are now sworn in as ministers of government. The team, led by Prime Minister Honorable vgh'n Mitchell, all took their oath of office and received their letters of instruments during the ceremony on Thursday at the Carriacou James Athletic Stadium. Prime Minister Mitchell will also serve as Minister for Finance, Public Administration, National Security, Home Affairs and Information. In this Abigail McIntyre report, we hear the assignments of the other cabinet ministers.
The Honorable vgh'n Mitchell, who was sworn in as Grenada's 9th Prime Minister on June 24th, was first to take his oath of office at the swearing-in ceremony of cabinet ministers on Thursday. He now holds the additional offices of Minister for Finance, National Security, Home Affairs, Public Administration, Information and Disaster Management. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Trade and Export Development will now be headed by the Honorable Joseph Andal. Honorable Lennox Andrews was appointed Minister for Economic Development, Planning, Tourism, ICT, Creative Economy, Agriculture and Lands, Fisheries and Cooperatives. Honorable Dennis Cornwall will serve as Minister for Infrastructure and Physical Development, Public Utilities, Civil Aviation and Transportation. On the Sister Isles, the Honorable Tevin Andrews was appointed Minister for Carriacou and Petite Martinique Affairs and Local Government. The Ministry of Social and Community Development, Housing and Gender Affairs is now headed by the Honorable Philip Telesford, while the Ministry of Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation will be led by the Honorable Andy Williams. Honorable Karen James will run the Ministry of Climate Resilience, the Environment and Renewable Energy, and Honorable Ron Redhead will serve as Minister of State with the responsibility for youth and sports. 5 senators also took their oath of office and received their letters of instruments. Senator the Honorable Claudette Joseph was appointed Attorney General, Minister for Legal Affairs, Labor and Consumer Affairs. Senator the Honorable Adrian Augustine Thomas will serve as Minister of State with responsibility for Agriculture and Lands, Fisheries and Cooperatives. The Ministry of Education, Youth, Sports and Culture will be led by Senator the Honorable David Andrew. The Ministry of Health, Wellness and Religious Affairs will now be the responsibility of Senator the Honorable Gayton Lacrette, and Senator the Honorable Gloria Ann Thomas will lead as Minister of State with responsibility for social development and gender affairs. Senator the Honorable Quince Britton was appointed as Senator in the Parliament of Grenada. For the National Report, I am Abigail McIntyre.
Thank you, Abigail. Prime Minister Honorable Deacon Mitchell says careful thought was put into the composition of his team to ensure that his administration can make good on the promises made during the 2022 election campaign. To demonstrate his administration's willingness to stand by its word, they have created the Ministry of Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation.
I think even from the briefings we've had with the senior managers of the public service, there's an implementation deficit in the public service. And we recognize that if we are actually going to deliver, we need to actually literally get things done. And so that's a key factor that is going to drive all of the other ministries. We have to set targets, we have to set goals, we have to implement. And if we're not implementing, we have to find out why and be able to correct it. So that's sort of the underlying philosophy behind creating that new ministry. We also want to focus heavily on the productive sectors. And that means the ICT, the creative industry, production, agriculture, fishing, agro-processing, etc. So in a sense, we are creating a super ministry with substructures beneath it because they're sectoral. Agriculture is sectoral, fishing is sectoral, but all of them are ultimately the productive sectors. And so we want to make sure that we have the synergies across the board to drive those sectors.
Other critical ministries for his administration are that of education, youth and sports, and climate resilience.
To that extent, renewable energy is going to be critical because the energy we currently use is fossil fuels, and that contributes towards rising temperatures and the challenges we face with the environment. We also recognize that there is the potential for a lot of grant funding available for countries that are serious about, especially small island states, about the environment, about climate resilience. And so we really want to give that ministry prominence to ensure that we can capitalize on the grant funding that is necessary to address climate resilience that we so badly need. Education is going to be a major factor, hence the reason for selecting David. He himself is an educator, he's very experienced, rose all the way to Chief Education Officer at one time, so I feel quite confident that he knows the system. He will therefore be able to guide us on what are some of the challenges that we need to face from a public sector reform point of view, as well as from a subject and a content matter.
The youthful members of the administration, he says, will play key roles in moving the various assigned ministries forward.
You would see, for example, that Ron, although he's an MP, is a Minister of State, because we recognize that he's young, he has a lot more time ahead of him, and we want to give him the opportunity to serve in his constituency as well as to fulfill the mandate that he has. You'd observe that our senators are female, some of those who did not win their seats, but we know they have the skill set necessary to deliver on the things that they have that we want them to champion. Mr. Lacrette, we believe, is a talent that is hardworking, still relatively young, and I have no illusion that whoever takes on the task of the Ministry of Health will be required to devote all of their time towards transforming it, towards improving it, and towards sustaining it. Hence the reason why he has that portfolio. Even though he has no health background per se, we feel satisfied that there are sufficient Grenadians with the technical skills. But what we need really from a leadership point of view is someone who can inspire, who can motivate, and who people have the confidence in to support to ensure that we do the transformation.
Government says it will make payments of docked salaries to teachers by the end of July. The announcement was made on Thursday by Prime Minister Honorable Deacon Mitchell. The action to dock the salaries of teachers was taken by the Keith Mitchell-led administration in 2018, following protest action prompted by the Grenada Union of Teachers, GUT, where teachers were absent from the classrooms for approximately 2 weeks in protest of a 2% gratuity payment offer. Prime Minister Mitchell told the gathering at the stadium that his government is extending the olive branch to commence the industrial peace process. He anticipates that promoting industrial peace will improve productivity.
As a sign of our commitment to ensuring that peace prevails, that in my capacity as Minister of Finance, and subject to the blessings which I believe I will receive from my cabinet colleagues, and in particular the new Minister of Education, we will instruct the Ministry of Finance to repay to the teachers of P.T. Martinique, carriacou and Grenada to repay to the teachers of P.T. Martinique and carriacou and Grenada the salaries that were docked unjustly from them, and that those payments should be made as early as the end of July 2022.
The Prime Minister said government will soon address the status of public officers as part of its transformation agenda. He explained that the thorough assessment will be conducted of unestablished and established workers, permanent workers, and those with contracts.
Our government is not at war, nor should it be at war, with the public servants and the workers who work for the government. And therefore, we accept that we will have disagreements. We accept that we will have difference in our viewpoints. But we are committed to ensuring that at all times that we treat our workers with respect and with dignity. I've already signaled to the senior managers of the public service that we need to put our house in order if we are going to put the nation's house in order. And I've already signaled that we will address the varying discrepancies between unestablished, established, contract, Imani, permanent, and the varying descriptions and job descriptions and varying benefits and non-benefits across all sectors of the public service.
This is the National Report. The news will continue after the break.
The house was shaking. Then suddenly saw we hear bang, crack, and the roof had gone.
Man, I was so scared, I nearly wet myself.
Only those who have lived it can truly understand the devastating fury of a hurricane's wind.
The house across the road just get up and roll over.
Hurricane force wind. It's a hazard. Hazards. Take control. Reduce your loss. You can hurricane-proof your home. For example, make your roof more wind-resistant by using screws instead of nails in its construction. Find out more about hurricane force winds and other hazards at your local disaster office.
A message from the National Disaster Management Agency and SEDERA.
Welcome back. Grenada's new Minister for Foreign Affairs, Honorable Joseph Andel, is ready to begin the task assigned to him under this ministry. Minister Andel spoke with the GIS after taking the oath of office at the swearing of cabinet ministers at the Karani James Athletic Stadium on Thursday evening.
I've been involved in the political field for most of my adult life. International relations is something that I studied at university level. And I know that we have competent staff at the ministry that will do the necessary briefings and assist me with the necessary preparation. So I feel quite confident that we'll be able to represent Grenada well, secure the interests of our country on the diplomatic and trade fronts.
Honorable Andel says there will be a different, more inclusive and transparent way of doing business under his administration and indicated that one of the areas his ministry will be placing heavy focus on is the setting up of a genuine export sector.
One of the things that we want to focus on is developing a genuine export sector. In terms of investors are welcome, but we as a government are going to set the national developmental priorities and seek the relevant partners so that we can execute our plans. And with everything, we have Grenada first and foremost. So there will be a difference in terms of the way we do some of the things. I won't be going into details in this interview, but you can expect some major shift in terms of the way we conduct business on behalf of our country.
The Minister for Foreign Affairs, Trade and Development says he is very comfortable with the assigned portfolios and will do his utmost to ensure that the best benefits are derived for the further development of Grenada. And finally in the news, the school feeding program in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Sports has received an increase in donation from ADM Caribbean Agro Industries for the upcoming school year 2022 to 2023. Managing Director of ADM Caribbean Agro, Gilbert Schooner, was on hand Thursday at the St. Paul's Government School for the handing over ceremony of a check in the amount of $34,000 to Acting Chief Education Officer Angela Finlay. The check represents the value of the flour which will be distributed to more than 100 schools in the school feeding program. Sorana Mitchell reports that the increase in donation comes at a very crucial time when there are more students making use of the program.
The Ministry of Education, Youth and Sports was extremely grateful to be presented with a check representing the value of flour which will be donated to over 100 schools in the country. Managing Director of ADM Caribbean Agro Industries, Gilbert Schooner, said the donation valued at $34,000 EC is to support Grenada's youth.
There's greater need. We saw that there's greater need throughout the country. We know that persons are experiencing quite a bit of hardship, and we believe that by making an enhanced contribution this year, we would be able to assist a wider cross-section of the student population that is in need of that kind of support.
Acting Chief Education Officer Angela Finlay said the donation was a commendable one, especially during this time of the COVID-19 pandemic when more parents are making use of the school feeding program due to loss of employment. Finlay said schools have been requesting an increase in the amount allotted to the program due to an increased need.
In this school, with a population of just over 300 children, approximately 130 students are enrolled in the school feeding program, and they are provided with a hot meal daily. We are still collecting the data from across the region, but we do know, across the state, but we do know that there has been an increase, because that has been the concern of all schools, that we need to do more in terms of the subvention so that they can give the children the quality of meal that we expect them to sustain.
And what's the subvention we're talking about?
Well, what I can tell you is the grand figure. It's approximately 3.1 million that is spent on the school feeding program every year, and that was prior to the advent of COVID. But the budget was already there for this year, still in the region of 3.1, but it has been able to carry us through because school has not been every day for a while, with the staggered return of students. So we were able to make it through this year.
Last year's donation by ADM Caribbean Agro Industries was in the amount of $16,000 EC. This year's handing over ceremony was held at the St. Paul's Government School on Thursday. For the National Report, I am Sarana Mitchell.
Thank you, Sarana. And with that report, we come to the end of the National Report for Friday, July 1st, 2022. Now for a recap of the top story. Government promises to make payment of 2018 doc salaries at the end of July. On behalf of the entire news and production team, I am Sherry Ann Noel, thanking you for viewing.